The chairman of the Board of Health, will call this meeting to order on Thursday, May 22nd, 2025 at the time of 1:12. Pledge of Allegiance, please join me.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Chairman F.
Present.
Board of Health member Kanda.
Kanda here.
Board of Health member Vogelsong.
Vogelsong here.
Public Health Director Sarah Bertelson.
Just personal.
Barely.
Here. And Board of Health
spirit.
Secretary Kate Lowell back here.
Awesome. I see we have no audience. Do we have anybody online?
No.
Okay. Any amendments to the agenda?
None here.
Approval of minutes?
Make a motion we approve the minutes as written.
I'll second that. Very good job. Whoever did it.
Okay.
She is the Board of Health.
All right.
They.
Paul,
Sir.
vote.
Aye.
Kanda?
Aye.
Lucas, aye.
And you're the vote. Okay.
Reports, the public health presentation. Welcome, Sarah.
Thank you.
Guest speaker.
So if everybody will turn to their revised packets. And I've got some interactive materials too. I'll hold up to the camera and then I'll pass them along so each member of the Board of Health can see. Most of them are included visually in the presentation, so.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, so as always, we're going to start with our local epidemiology cases. So we had, back in April, 4 cases of pneumonia from school-aged children. So all ended up on antibiotics and 1 ended up on oxygen. So it was a streptococci pneumoniae, so which is very common in the spring months. So luckily it didn't spread beyond these 4. Thankfully, because that can be pretty detrimental, especially on oxygen. That's not fun.
What school age was in there?
Doesn't say what.
How old were they?
They ranged from 8 to 11.
Oh.
So,
Okay.
yeah, just a little cluster. They had ended up having a sleepover, so that was the common tie to this outbreak. So this outbreak it was more than 3, so that's what we considered an outbreak. And we investigated and discussed, we ended up we heard it from the school, then we went to the local pharmacy and kind of learned a little bit about, were the antibiotics working, did some ended up having to switch. So luckily they did not end up hospitalized, so good deal.
How long was the little one on oxygen?
I believe at least 3 to 4 days from what I heard. So it wasn't terribly, it could have been a lot worse.
Yeah.
It could have been a lot worse, and we could have had a lot more. So luckily we are improving on our illness reports at the school, which is wonderful. So we do a regular call with the school nurse, which has switched. So Toria is on leave and Nicole is in there now. So we have a pretty regular call with Nicole, if not weekly, every other week. So. Exactly. So great increase in communication there. And then don't hate me, but we're gonna talk about the measles. It's pretty prevalent. So we'll start off with our awareness campaign that we did here in Custer County. So we had 2 separate press releases. And we distributed posters and resources at the school, the library, Department of Health and Human Services, and the clerk's office. So we really tried to spread it around to all avenues where the community was going to, frequently visit, especially those with young children.
High visibility.
Exactly. So luckily, nothing here in Custer County yet. We've had 5 total cases across the state of Colorado. There were recent exposures in Pueblo, recent exposures in Pueblo and Denver. So 2 separate people, both from out of state, came and visited. So the cases in Pueblo, there has been no other reported cases. So we got very lucky. And the exposure infectious window has closed. So if there are any new cases of measles, it will not be related to this recent exposure. They are still tracking the one in Denver, which happened at DIA in an airport terminal. So
2 people there.
yeah, so we will keep you posted on that. If anybody has any questions, please visit CDPHE. They have
Okay.
current data and we'll keep up. And if you believe you had exposure, I believe it was Terminal 13 on either the 13th or the 14th, because the person had flown in, that was where the exposure was, and they turned right back around, got on a plane the next day and flew home.
Wait,
So it wasn't,
polluted some other place.
wasn't a
And
change,
one hotel.
so it wasn't a change of airplane, it was actually a arrival and a
Correct. So
more exposure.
so we're just, if anybody is concerned, please contact CDPHE if they are concerned about their
What
status.
airline?
They haven't listed that yet.
What
So
airline?
Terminal 13. So I have to go look up in the details what
They
exact
just changed
flight
a bunch
numbers.
of them out there too.
Mhm. So it's a whole bunch of fun. So if any, like I said, if anybody's concerned, please contact the State Department and keep up on their website because they will be updating. I believe they keep us updated as soon as anything is reported and usually gets out to the public a few days later.
Is it necessary or advisable to say, okay, Custer County, did you fly out of DIA these 2 days?
We could put a press release out.
Any time or?
Not necessarily. It's a pretty narrow window. I mean, you have to be on, vaccination status is key here. So if you are vaccinated, it was just one individual, so it wasn't a whole group of people, which is good. But one individual is still highly contagious. It's that vaccine status and that immune response that we are concerned about. So again, and if anybody has questions, they can call us and we can guide them through the contact tracing. So yeah, so we'll keep moving. So hopefully, like I said, we got lucky. The one in Pueblo stayed at a hotel, and luckily no exposures were reported, so thank goodness. Then we have the yellow fever mosquito. So it's Aedes aegypti mosquito. So it hails from Egypt, Middle East. What is concerning about this is that it's newly found in the Grand Junction area and around the Mesa. So it was first found in August of 24. And the reason why we are concerned about this mosquito is because it carries Zika virus, dengue, and chikungunya viruses. So these are like hemorrhagic fevers that can come with this little mosquito. So luckily no cases have been reported, but they are watching it very heavily and they are actually doing control measures, treating large mosquito populations and or fogging certain areas that are known to have this type of mosquito. So we're just keeping an eye.
Did they do quantities, how many mosquitoes they had found?
They did not, it was more of a general, just a heads up. I'm sure they are doing regular testing to make sure that if this mosquito is carrying any of these diseases that we've watched. And like I said, no cases of any of these viruses have been reported to date. So hopefully it dies off and it goes away. All right, measles nationwide. So as of May 15th, we are up to over 1,000 confirmed cases of measles in 31 jurisdictions or states. What's really concerning is Texas and New Mexico have not gotten a hold of their measles cases. It just, because of its highly contagious nature, it just keeps spreading and it's really hard to get on top of it, to get these people contained, isolated, and recovered. So it just, we have not seen the end of this little bugger, and we will probably be dealing with this, experts say, for about another year. So measles is not going away. And we hear a lot of the time, like, I had measles when I was a kid, no big deal. The problem is that the lifestyle and culture has changed. So back in the day, you had a, potentially a stay-at-home parent. Now you've got dual working parents, and if you get contacted and you are put at risk, you have to isolate for 21 days, which is very significant and can have huge financial repercussions for working parents. So we'll keep you updated as we go. Hopefully it just avoids us here in Custer County. We do meet regularly. We are watching as summer camps come in. I talked with somebody from Sky Ranch yesterday, and they said they had cases of flu and they were quarantining those individuals, but no cases of measles as of now. So let's just keep hoping that people are Conscientious when traveling, that is the biggest thing. So if you are concerned about your measles risk, again, please call us at Public Health. We can guide you through whether or not you're ready for a vaccine or an update. Or if you're traveling, please visit you can visit CDC or CDPHE, and they have travel guides as to, current outbreak areas. And if you see over here on this picture, obviously Texas is the most heavily populated with the current measles cases, and then New Mexico is shortly behind, and Kansas in a nice third place there. And there was a bigger outbreak in Ohio too. That's why that one is slightly darker blue than the others. So just be aware when traveling, especially if you are unvaccinated. That is the biggest cause of contagion, is if you are unvaccinated. Whether a child or adult, unvaccinated is going to be your biggest spreader of this disease. So still 3 confirmed deaths to date, 2 children, 1 adult. The adult was in New Mexico, the 2 kids were in Texas. So very unfortunate. But on the brighter side, our MMR rates have increased by 10 people, 4 adults and 6 children. So that's a pretty significant jump for us. Aside from our normal, regulating vaccine schedule. So I'm really happy to see that our efforts in our awareness campaign have increased our vaccines. So we've seen a positive influx. So that was wonderful. We have since resumed our tuberculosis testing, and we've completed 9 tests to date, which is more than we have done in probably about 6 to 8 months. So we're really trying to keep those up. A lot of these are valley hires. So before going into an assisted or residential living area, you have to be tested for tuberculosis.
I was just going to ask that question.
Beat you to it. And then COVID. So no longer we are carrying it at CCPHA because we are waiting on the fall strain, and they are actually adjusting the schedule, the recommended dosing schedule at the federal level ACIP recommendations.
That's by age again.
Age and conditions, so if you're, immunocompromised and things like that. So they are adjusting it for the fall season. So we are waiting on the fall shipment. You can still go get COVID at your bigger retail chains, your Walmarts, your Sam's Club, things like that. We just aren't able to, our manufacturer isn't shipping them anymore in this last strain. So, and then luckily we were chosen by the state to do a quality improvement project in our child vaccine arena. So what we are doing is we have our free sports physicals, which will be mentioned later in this presentation. But at those sports physicals, we will be offering a Tdap, which is a tetanus, diphtheria, and pertussis vaccination, which you need before entering the 6th grade, with those sports physicals. So it is a one-stop convenient appointment for a family, which we are hoping to increase compliance rates. Yay. Onward. This is looking at our visits in April, which we are normally much slower in this month. Not anymore. We are staying very consistently busy with our vaccines, which is impressive. So I would like to attribute that to our campaign efforts, our advertising. We are really, anytime we go out, which I'll talk about, we just did a dental event. We promote our vaccine services, and we also participated in preschool roundup. Kindergarten roundup got rescheduled because of weather. So we are seeing a very positive influx of people. So yay. And then on to the next one. So overall, for the fiscal year of 24 to 25, as of May 5th, we've done a few more since the 5th, 913 vaccines to 492 clients, and this is done by a single nurse. She is amazing. So very proud of those numbers. She's very impressive. So in addition to, we've been forming a communicable disease program. So a communicable disease is defined as an illness caused by a bacteria or virus spread from person to person through contact or with contaminants. So we have reviewed the past 2 decades through our disease tracking system, EpiTrax, into these next statistics. These are your top 5 in Custer County. Animal bites being our number 1. So we had 900 total cases, and of that we averaged our top 5. These did not include COVID. COVID throws everything off. So animal bites, 52, mostly from dogs. Then with that little asterisk, we'll go to our rabies testing, which we have revamped that whole program. So we had 38 total tests over the past 2 decades, 27 bats, 5 skunks, and 6 other domestic animals. So we're currently working with a local vet to have a better and safer location to harvest specimens, because you have to decapitate the specimens larger than a bat. Bats are whole. We take whole bats. If people want to collect the bats, do not touch them with bare hands. Please put gloves on or call your local Department of Wildlife agent. Please do not collect live bats. And then, of course, like I said, the domestic animals, those are a bigger ask. So the vet, we were just working on personal protective equipment for the vet, determining, what all is needed. So normally you have like a contained area with a glass and gloves that you can, through the shield, decapitate said specimen, but this vet does not have an area, so we're trying to discuss with the state veterinarian whether or not complete PPE with like a full mask and gown and thick gloves are going to protect the vet while obtaining these specimens. So we'll keep you guys updated on that as we go into our busier season with rabies testing. Lead poisoning is another one. So everybody hears the word poisoning, they're like, oh my gosh, worst case scenario. This is defined as any level over 3.5 micrograms. So that triggers, if you're even slightly above, it will trigger a state investigation. So it depends on how high that level is, what course of action will be taken, if it's just nutrition and environment education, or if they need chelation therapy. So that's where the lead is actually pulled from the body. It is a very intensive process. And why this is important is because the earlier we find out lead poisoning, the less detrimental effects we have, especially in young children. So your developmental delays and things of that nature. So 18 cases, that's pretty significant. Again, over the past 2 decades. Campylobacter, that is number 3. So this one is the most common diarrheal illness in the United States. It's caused by raw milk or food, contaminated water, undercooked chicken, and some types of animal feces. So it's really prevalent in summer months. So, if you're swimming in like cow ponds, things like that, don't do that. Not fun. Very, very gross, very dirty. Which this can be detrimental to, especially in your young children or your, elderly that are more frail, because you're going to dehydrate really rapidly.
Is that the only symptom?
Fever, all the
above.
abdominal cramping, things of that nature. So 16 cases, like I said, contaminated water, so no swimming in Lake Louise. I mean, amongst other things in that lake, Campylobacter could definitely be present. So just please don't swim there. Pertussis, otherwise known as whooping cough, 15 cases. This has been increased nationwide. Again, we're watching trends, luckily nothing recent, but again, can be very detrimental, especially to young children. So if you have anybody who's having recent grandchildren, please send them in for their Tdap booster before visiting. Or if you know anybody, young parents that are going to deliver, so we vaccinate the adults. We try to get moms during pregnancy as well, so send them our way. And then last but not least, the plague from our lovely little prairie dogs. We've only had 10 cases in the past 2 decades, which isn't too bad, but still prevalent and worth a mention. So don't pet the prairie dogs.
Is it still black plague or is there no?
To my knowledge, it's black plague, but we watch for variants and they'll let us know if anything varies. But just again, please do not touch the prairie dogs. And the purpose of doing this over the past 2 decades is to help us determine where to place our focus. Where can we educate? So obviously the most prevalent is animal bites. And so we've kind of talked about a couple different avenues on where we want to go with this, especially educating our sheriff's department and or animal control on proper procedures, and then, developing a pamphlet for both if it is a domestic animal, what you are to do with that domestic animal, and or if it's the bite victim, what they're supposed to do, so that they are fully educated and understand why public health is going to call them. So.
Is it only prairie dogs or squirrels and rats?
So we most commonly see prairie dogs. I mean, other things, the rats, the fleas way back in the Renaissanceian day, they determined that it was fleas. And so these fleas could be the vector that are infecting the prairie dogs. And so again, it's just, yeah, it's really just do not go and pet your wild animals. Please don't touch them.
They're so cute.
I know. It's very tempting. You know,
That's
just
what I
like,
hear.
don't pet the buffalo, same, don't pet the prairie dogs. Just better to observe from afar.
I just,
Absolutely. So,
So back to Lake Louise,
mhm,
right, because we've got a phenomenal, and if they ever raise that up another 4 feet, that's gonna add even some more surface area. We got this great tourism draw that we could have, but we
Mhm.
don't, because we've got the algae bloom that blooms as soon as the water warms up,
mhm.
good enough to be on there. But it's another recreational thing that we could have for the families here. You know, and most of the lakes in Colorado are all gonna come off of a stream that cattle
right,
or animals are gonna be using to whatever, but,
great.
so, you know, we have to be we need to be careful. So how are we gonna move forward? And I know that's a project that you and I've talked about, is the impairment with Great Creek, which flows into Lake Louise, and how do we, you know, what's a 10-year plan? Can we get this cleaned up? And I need to get you hooked up with Dr. Andrew Todd, who's working, or who knows about the state that's gonna come in and do some work on Great Creek, but I don't know, you know, I think we all desire to have that cleaned up, and so it's not called lake disease, but
It
during the
is.
summertime, but it would be.
I'm working on that a bit in my spare time, but did we have a test on the algae? Of
So
what
we-
toxicity?
Yes, so Justin Kroll tests with the Department of Wildlife, tests it regularly. I will reach out to him since it's Memorial Day weekend already upon us. And during the summer months, we meet regularly and he gives me a regular report of toxicity levels.
Can I be in that loop? Because
Absolutely.
I'm working with a company in California that may be able to neutralize our toxicity in our lake.
That's exciting. Yes, most definitely. So I will make a note.
I'll give you, can you got my email?
That would be
Yeah.
great, yes. No, that would be awesome, because I think that would be a wonderful project to improve. I really do. I think that would be a huge generational impacted project.
Here's my,
Water skiing.
no, Justin doesn't have that.
Kids can't do anything.
Okay. I will
Okay.
interlude.
I've been trying to get hold of his hard to get hold of.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So I'll bug
I'll
him.
tell you what I'm doing with the water and everything.
Sounds great. Wonderful.
Okay,
Excellent. Yeah, so we will start reporting on our disease trending, you know, more regularly when we get some more data. This EpiTrack system is new. It used to be Cedars before, so they've transferred to the EpiTracks, and so we're well versing ourselves, and I hope to have some very fun pie graphs and charts. And
When's the last time they tested Lake Louise?
I was back in August. It was before I went into labor. I was talking with Justin Kroll very regularly, so.
I wonder how much it varies. Fresh water goes in.
And it just, we usually, from what I saw last year, we just had, as soon as it started to bloom, we just had this increase of it never really plateaued, it just kept
it
increasing.
just keeps going until it gets cold, and then it drops off, doesn't it?
Yeah, because the algae die.
Cause
Yeah.
it's never gonna go away.
Yeah. And
So
that's-
I've been talking to some people about the beavers, and they want to really reintroduce beavers along Great Creek and some of the others, and some of the guys that have done those studies say that'll clean up some of that stuff,
Because of the sun or something.
because it holds
Hold the
back
water.
some of that impairment.
As long as they don't get.
But, you know, we still don't know how many of those septics around Lake Louise, plus all the campers that park around there, how many just take a hose down to the
Water
edge of the river and just open up and dump?
Yeah.
So, and
So guess what, they can't do that.
so Colorado Parks and Wildlife manage that area around there, and they don't have enough people.
They don't,
They don't do much managing.
Yeah, and our efforts last year consisted of putting up the giant emergency signs, which is hard because we need those for other, you know, public information events and things like that. So it really is hard to get those signs because, I mean, he puts up regular small signs all over the place, but nobody reads them.
Yeah.
And even the big signs, I don't know if anybody reads them, but we try. We are really
Right.
trying, and we'll make regular toxicity reports on like KLZR and things like that. So, you know, if the board has any other ideas, in addition to our efforts, and we'll just maybe start a project proposal and begin from there. So, yeah.
Educate and encourage, that's the freest, cheapest thing we can do.
Exactly. Speaking of which, this will tie into that mantra in our emergency preparedness. So we have been meeting regularly. So ESF 8 is called, it's an emergency support function. So for those that don't know it, ESF 8 is specific to public health. So that is kind of our guidelines of what we do in a disaster, what our role and our support strengths are. So we have met with Department of Health and Human Services and OEM on these plans to make sure that they are in the loop as well as we are supporting them in their ESF functions. We determined and are excited to announce that there will be a shelter training on June 25th this year with the Red Cross. So shelter training is going to be very crucial for both all times of the year, you know, especially in the winter months and or fire season, in case we were to ever have to open up a shelter. So if you guys are not busy on that day, it might be very beneficial to have some representation. June 25th. Yep. So, and I actually, oh my goodness, I forgot my props. So measles poster, we'll get to this in just a minute, and then I have a shelter training poster in here somewhere.
Do you know what time the training is?
I sure do, and I will get back to you. I thought I here it is. 8 a.m. to noon.
We got a BOCC meeting.
Darn it. Well, I will take very good notes and
Thank you
inform the
very much.
board.
Yeah.
But if you know anybody else who is interested, please contact
Okay.
Robin at her Custer County email. Or call her at 719-269-7952. So that is there. Then we've also been working on our mass fatality plan. Not the most joyous plan, but if in case we were to ever have horrible disaster that results in huge casualties. It is very important for us to work seamlessly with both our coroner and our mental health asset, which is Solvista. So we sat down and had a huge meeting with them about our roles and regulations, and this is our plan that we came up with. You guys are welcome to, I can give you copies and we can look at it more in depth. But we felt really good after this meeting because everybody got on the same page. And we feel very prepared now as a new team to move forward in case this ever, goodness forbid, happens. We are also, if you see Patrick smiling in the corner, he participated in the disaster preparedness fair with OEM this last Tuesday, the 20th, at the library. So he brought bunches of goodies, taught about, what a go bag is in case of disaster, what disaster resources we have located here in Custer County, and how public health plays an integral role in disaster planning and preparedness. So back to what Lucas was saying, really education and preparedness is huge before a disaster occurs. So we're really trying to expand our efforts to get community members involved in thinking preemptive, prevention, proactive. What can we do before disaster strikes so that you are prepared? Awesome. Okay. And then we move on to our substance abuse and STEP grant. So STEP is the tobacco grant. On the substance abuse side, so we are looking into trying to work with the school to get them to take the Healthy Kids Colorado survey. So what this is it's anonymous testing that is given to middle school and high school students that asks various questions. These are very difficult questions. Do you use recreational drugs? Do you participate here? Et cetera, which has been a conflict to the board in the past. But why this is important is because this allows us to collect data, which then helps us, bring about funding for youth programs to improve this.
It's only awareness, no name attached.
Correct. It is completely anonymous.
What was the board's number one problem with that?
They got various...
Parents, I don't want the state or the
yeah, 'cause
feds
they're the guilty.
asking my kids anything. That's not why they're going to school.
And so the the counter to that is that the kids do not have to answer those questions if they don't feel comfortable. They can skip right over them. So they talked to the state about not putting them on there, but it's given statewide. So with various beliefs and things with our state government, that's where the turmoil comes from. And so Patrick and I are working with, hopefully whenever the school board, the school board and or the school administration settles out, to try to get this administered, because they're hoping to do it, it happens in the fall. And so that's a very busy time of year for both us and them, but we would like to see if we can get this, because it really will help us with our funding programs, especially in the new climate of government where funding has been cut. This is critical because it's real-time data from the kids themselves. So we're gonna keep you updated on that if we make any progress. There is also a program called Full Circle Restorative Justice. So this is a grant-funded program that helps address patterns and behaviors that cause harm or disruptions to the learning environment. So this program focuses on your more at-risk and troubled youth. And what it does is it provides training for administration and educators focused on prevention and intervention methods rather than go straight to punishment, because straight to punishment does not always work. And it gives them tools and opportunities for the youth themselves to participate in leadership and positive development. So it's a new way of thinking to try to prevent what they lovingly call the school to prison pipeline, is what this program calls the traditional, you do something bad, you're punished for it.
Oh, okay, so I have huge issues with restorative justice. And I'm gonna bring this real close to home. We've had people who have been sexually abused here, adults. Now the court is saying, you need to go and you need to restore your relationship with who abused you. And I, for one, do not believe in that 100%. I would never put you two gals through that. I would never put my daughters through that. So I'm very concerned about a male student abusing a female student in a manner that is not appropriate, and we go, you need to restore your relationship with that person. No, that relationship is over, done with, and will never get back to where it should be in a healthy manner.
Is that how you see it with the state saying that?
So we don't have this program here. This is not enacted. They have come to Patrick and he's kind of looked into their grant opportunities. Nothing's happened here in Custer County. It is in Chaffee, it is in Fremont, and it is in Park. So again, I can't speak to this specific case because this is not the program that you're talking about a similar program that
I'm talking about the justice system in Colorado that's gone that route. I don't want to see our kids go that route.
Right.
Because then because it gives open license to abuse. And who does? I cannot get behind this.
And we don't want to endorse that either. So again, they have approached us, we have not done anything. Okay. This is just hey, they came and talked to us, I wanted to bring it to your attention.
No, I appreciate that.
So it seems like this is an avenue that we are not going to pursue. So I will relay that to Patrick and we will focus our efforts elsewhere.
No, I think we need to, and I appreciate you present. We need to know what's going on. So we need to know what the state's doing, and because if I know this, then I can go, hey, don't put money here. We need money on helping 1 through 3-year-olds who've either been born premature or have learning disabilities, so we can take care of what we know we have instead of.
Yeah, we are full transparency, so that's why, I want to bring it to your attention before any action is taken.
No,
so
I appreciate that.
Good to know. So on the other side of things, on the tobacco grant side of things, the Baby Me Tobacco Free program, which is a program that helps pregnant mothers stop smoking through incentives like free diapers, which for my diapering mom is very expensive. So this is a huge deal, which it also now includes cannabis cessation, so marijuana cessation. So if they want to quit both tobacco and marijuana, they have incentives with this program. Okay. Very huge deal, especially being in a state where cannabis is legal.
Does this also deal with the e-cigarettes then too?
Yes, and as you guys can see, so this is some of the materials that we have handed out at other locations. So we just got it into the Lighthouse Pregnancy Center, very exciting, as well as huge displays at our place of work. It's very, very exciting because it's been around for a while, but they just revamped it and to now include these other items, which is wonderful. And Patrick is looking into an electronic cigarette disposal program for both, one-use and reusable items. So it's just something he wants to steer the STEP program in if the board is permitting.
Just a depository type thing?
Yep, so it doesn't end up in our landfill with all that awful, gross
Alright.
nettles and
Well,
Or in somebody else's hand.
or in somebody else's hands, exactly, or in a young child's hands who's not supposed to have it.
it's kind of like the glass recycling, it shows us how much people drink in this community.
Sure does. Bottle after bottle.
Yeah.
Just look
That would give us some idea of how many people use e-cigarettes there.
Yeah.
Yep, very true. So I'll keep you posted as that program develops. All right.
Big John.
Awesome. We'll move on to the AED and CPR instruction, which is very exciting. Oh, the after prom event. I'm sorry, I totally skipped over that. Real quick. $1,500 combined funding from substance abuse grant and the STEP grant were put towards an after prom event. So it would give kids an opportunity to do alternative activities. So they did raffle items and games and things like that. But $1,500 is pretty significant donation. So, yay.
Yeah.
Okay, now on to AED and CPR. So, again, pictured to the left here is Patrick holding a CPR class for our MRC volunteers, as well as other members of the public, but the nice incentive was it was free for MRC volunteers. So we actually ended up getting a new member recruited out of this training. We're very excited to have her. She just stopped by the office and got onboarded yesterday. So, yay, we're growing. That's so wonderful. We are going to have future opportunities at the Pines Ranch for their staff on 5/27 and the Sangre Shooting Sports Club on 6/25. So, yay, super exciting. The Pines Ranch staff is mostly kiddos and adults that are helping with their play group on Fridays, which is new. So,
Are you aware that Road and Bridge, everybody there is?
yes, and we've been in touch with them on the regular, so they're supposed to let us know when their certifications expire. And we just had Lori Yarger, the director of the early education department over at school, reach out for her staff in the fall. So we're starting to gain a really regular following with the community, which
I
is
also
wonderful.
remind people as I'm speaking, if any group or anything, that if they ever have a problem on the road there or anything, stop a Road and Bridge truck. Everybody has a radio and everybody's CPR qualified.
Yes, and which brings me to my next point, because we have been looking into universalizing the AEDs, so the automatic electric defibrillators for Custer County. So there has been a new company that has approached us, they're called Avive. SAR, so Search and Rescue, actually just purchased one of their units. Commissioner Epp and I have met on maybe possibly getting a demonstration. So they came to town one day and caught us on the tail end. OEM sent them over and was like, hey, public health might be interested. It was like 5 o'clock, so we stayed for her demonstration. And I really ended up liking this unit for a couple different reasons. So it's pretty reasonably priced. And it also has it's about 2.2 pounds. It's very little, very light. And it only has one set of pads, which is different from your traditional units that have an adult pad and a child pad. So what this unit does differently is it has a universal set of pads and 2 different buttons, one that says adult, one that says child. So it's more cost effective. It also doesn't run on your traditional batteries. You plug it in and charge it, and the charge lasts for 6 to 8 months. So that's another cost effective measure, because prior to that, your other units, like your they're like $400 to $500 a pop, and they don't last very long, especially if they're put in, through the elements. Not so. And then in addition to that, it has a display screen that has visual instructions on the screen.
Do this, do that, push the button.
And then it has a QR code, so once you get the patient hooked up, it gives the emergency responders live time data, so they can hook up a phone and get exactly what the patient's heart rate and monitor, the EKGs, the electrocardiogram. So they know exactly what's going on with that patient, when they got shocked, how many times they got shocked, real-time data that could end up helping determine, the cause and or what type of heart attack. So very big things, and I've been talking to the representative, and they offer trade-ins and possible bulk deal pricing. So Commissioner Epp and I will keep you guys informed if we move forward. Again, we're in the very pre-stages. I want to get my hands on, more of like the demonstration tools and be able to let you guys have your hands on an actual unit so we can determine if this is where Custer County wants to move.
Does it do anything with oxygen level?
But not yet, but you might want to patent that idea. Just saying. And cut me in on that. But it is a very cool tool, especially being medically licensed myself and knowing what that real-time data can do for a patient. It's pretty incredible. So we'll move on to our maternal child health. So we have been collaborating with the Lighthouse on breastfeeding, milestone moments, prenatal health, baby and me, tobacco-free program, information packets. So this one is near and dear to my heart because I actually use this one for my little one to keep track of how development is going. And the earlier, if these kiddos do not quite meet their milestones, the earlier that you have intervention offered, the better the outcome is going to be. So back to where Lucas kind of was talking about, I'd rather invest in programs where you need a 1 to 3 year old who needs intervention. That would be our HCP program. So that is where, hey, we know our kiddo's struggling, what can we do? And we help the parents navigate through these programs and refer them out to services such as StarPoint. And we've referred 9 families since we've last met here, which is pretty awesome. We also have been piloting a well baby visit in the home. So I had a friend of mine who just recently had a baby, and we've been talking about doing a program like this. Some other community programs that are styled in this essence are like Nurse Family Partnership. I actually used to work for Nurse Family Partnership back in Pueblo, and they service low-income first-time moms. Our program does not base off of income. It is any mother, not just first-time moms too. So we're really trying to focus on increasing our breastfeeding rates because breastfeeding is really hard, especially when you're in a remote area and you don't have the resources of a hospital. So both myself and my other nurse Deb are certified lactation consultants, so we can go and give consults in the home or in the office. So we were testing the in-home ability, with our capacity at 2 nurses and 2 CLCs, just to kind of see if this is something we can develop further. Chaffee County has a really great home visiting program, but they have a larger staff. So we're just kind of testing the waters to see, what it would take, forms-wise, what the parents are expecting. And so with this particular pilot, we did 4 total visits. 1 visit the first week, 1 visit at 2 weeks old, another visit at 1 month old, and then the last visit at 1.5 months old. And so we covered postpartum care, newborn care, resources in the community, including what we do, help with breastfeeding and or difficulties in that arena. And the mother gave me a suggestion of because we knew each other, but she's like, if I didn't know you, I would have liked to met you in pregnancy. So again, just pieces of a puzzle that maybe we can develop, especially as our staff strengths, down the road, and once we can kind of get a better hold of what the government's going to do with public health funding here in the next fiscal year. But we were happy to have this opportunity to pilot this and see how it goes. And we ended up helping her stay breastfeeding, through her journey. So that was awesome. We also have our lovely free sports physicals for 100 local kiddos starting in June. We're waiting for our lovely practitioner to come back from maternity leave, so we're looking to schedule towards June, like the end of June, and then we'll perform these 2 days a week throughout the summer. So we've kind of blocked off chunks of time. We just kind of want to see where the practitioner is at after she returns from maternity leave, so we don't slam her full of like 15 kids. So we're going to start with 5 children on Tuesday morning, half-hour piece appointments. So where we're going to offer our Tdap vaccination at the appointment. So Deb or I will either be helping, take vitals and all that fun stuff while she is performing the exams. So there is 2 adults and the parent or guardian present during these exams at Public Health. So if you know anybody interested, please send them our way. We are starting to schedule. Yep. And this was made possible by our lovely sponsors through the High Mountain Hay Fever Children's Health Fund.
So how are you advertising?
So I'm actually gonna go on the radio June 6th. We're gonna record and then advertise there. We've put it out through schools, through the coaches, and the school nurse sent them home before school's coming out here soon. And we also advertise at any of our events, so dental day, preschool roundup. Hey, you have any kiddos in sports here? Great. We have posters at our place of business. We also put them up at the library, so.
It's limited to 100, is that enough?
It should be. So there's estimated at least 40 kiddos that are active in sports. So we don't have elementary school sports here yet. It's only middle school and high school. And not every kiddo wants to participate in sports, but we're hoping that if this was a barrier before, that it is not anymore.
Yeah.
So hopefully it should be enough, and we can always ask for emergency funding too. So if we end up magically getting 100 kids, excellent, and we have 5 to 10 more kids, I can go to the Children's Health Fund Board and ask for emergency funding. So we will not leave any kiddo behind. All right. So we did, as I mentioned, dental day at the school on 5/12. So this was focused on the childcare and preschool children enrolled in the program. So they, of course, thank you to the Children's Health Fund again for funding. It's through Cavity 3x3 and the dental program. All funding provided by the Children's Health Fund. Jennifer Foster of Traveling Smiles is our hygienist. She's been doing pediatric hygiene for 20 plus years. She's wonderful. And we did it right in the Custer County School. So we had a private office and in the preschool room, and it was coordinated by myself and Lori Yarder. So what we're gonna kind of do is walk you through what this program is. So what happens is the parent comes in, she meets Jennifer Foster, and Jennifer Foster administers a focused questionnaire for the child. She preps the parent and the kiddo for the exam. Hey, this is what I'm gonna do. So that kind of helps reduce the fear for both the child and the parent, and education for the parent. So, in this case with the baby, are you, do you use a sippy cup? Do you use a bottle? Is she having juice? All that kind of stuff. How many teeth does she have? So after that's all established, then we move on to step 2. This is the fun part, where the exam is actually performed, and if the parent chooses, if the child has teeth, fluoride can be applied. So it's pretty cool. This baby did so good. She was such a cooperative little model in addition to getting her exam done. Didn't cry at all. She was perfect. So then at the following step, so she will document what her findings are. If she finds any complications, she'll make sure that if there is a concern, that she makes a proper referral at that time. And the parents get to take this lovely little kit provided by the program that includes a toothbrush for both the child and the adult. So here's the child's toothbrush and the parent. So this is aimed towards really getting dental hygiene throughout the family, but really getting those patterns established so that we can reduce the occurrence of cavities, as well as the fear of people coming in for the child and messing with their mouth for future dental exams. So it's wonderful because the parent is there the whole time, the child gets held by the parent, so it's not as scary as like going to the dentist, where this is a little bit more of a familiar environment. Exactly. So you guys are welcome to look, and there's education there, and so this kit is expired, but there's fluoride that they can take home and do a fluoride application 6 months after this application to keep up on dental hygiene, which is very important in these parts because most people are on well water. So that fluoride is not in our water unless it's in town, and we want to make sure to prevent tooth decay. That is where the fluoride plays really, really big important roles. And it's a very, very tiny amount, so there's not toxicity risk. So pretty awesome. And then, so that was our Cavity Free by 3 program. So for our older kiddos, for our preschoolers, we had 6 preschoolers that received screenings and fluoride applications. So what Jennifer does is she goes into their classroom and she uses her giant teeth diagram to teach them how to properly brush. There is a proper way. It's how to angle your brush, to make sure not to brush too hard, all of that wonderful thing. And then she did each screening, and it was so cute because they all gathered around to watch her. And it was funny because they were siblings, so if you see the girl that's getting the exam, her sister is right in front of her, and she wanted to make sure that her sister was going to be okay. And so it was wonderful because they got to see each other, and it reduced the fear watching one go after the other. So it was very cute. Awesome. And then in addition, so they play, I'll let you guys watch the video. So she does a game where they dress up as teeth and they learn how to take care of each other. So they are flossing in and around the teeth very gently, very diligently. Learning all of that. Exactly. And then the second video, she actually has the kids pretend to be the toothbrush. So they have to brush each other very gently, of course. So yeah, it's very quick. Cool. So we had a lot of fun. All right, our big upcoming event for maternal child health is our CC Casey Family Fun Day, and we are going to have a fun in the sun theme. So we are focusing all of our prizes and giveaway and games around health and safety. So please come. It's going to be very wonderful. We have giveaway bags. We're going to do some raffle prizes, and we of course have our lovely information for all ages.
When is it?
It is June 14th, so it's a Saturday, from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. There's food provided by, I believe the Sheriff's Department is the one who's in charge of the burgers.
Yeah, I think the posse puts on that, so.
Yep, so it's gonna be a good time. I'm making my parents bring my little one in attendance so that I can work and he can go have fun. So it's gonna be good. His first community event, so. Bring the kids. And then also, one of our youth initiatives is Earth Sky Art Club. So we've been doing this for about 3 years now. And so what it is, it's 8 weeks of various art courses, so photography, sculpture, painting. And what it is it's focused on youth connecting arts to overall social, emotional well-being. So, how to regulate our emotions through artwork, how to, take art and make it something positive. So our first day of class is Thursday, June 5th from 2 to 3:30. The subject is photography and your teacher is yours truly. So please, if you know any kiddos between 12 and 18, we're focused on the middle school and the high school kiddos. It'll be at Custer County School, taught by my co-teacher, Shelley Green. So if anybody is interested, all the permission forms are found at our website listed below. But yeah, it's been great. They did jackets last year, so they're going to be doing the jackets again this year. It was very popular, and they turned out, these kiddos are very incredibly talented. It's pretty wonderful. And we're talking about partnering with Valley to do a project with the seniors this year. So we're just going to kind of see, we're going to get our kiddos and then figure out which art medium we want to take to Valley. So I talked to a couple board members, and they were very excited about the idea of connecting youth to seniors. So keep you updated. All right. Senior outreach. So what I've been doing is working with the lovely folks over at Landing Well. So Landing Well, if you haven't heard of it, if you would please click on that link. They are focused on helping connect seniors in our community with resources. Community events, things of that nature. So it's a very beautiful website. And we are hopefully going to start launching some polls and collecting data from this website as well. We are currently looking into a program that we would like to pilot. So has anybody heard of Arc Valley Helping Hands? It's a Chaffee County program. If not, here's a pamphlet. So it's all volunteers. This program is overseen by Public Health in Chaffee County. It was a 501(c) initially, and then Public Health took it over. So we are looking into how we could pilot that and maybe successfully down the road have Public Health do something here for Custer County. It's very beneficial. It could be used in multiple ways, from anywhere, yard chores to snow plowing to rides to, the possibilities are very endless. And Chaffey County has had a very positive experience, and they pay one full-time volunteer coordinator to run this program. So I will be speaking with Andrea, she's the director of Chaffey County Public Health, on how she successfully funded this through grants, which we were told are very competitive in this arena because we have a very large aging population. So we are gonna try to see if we can make this possible. I'm very excited about working with the Aging Consortium to move this forward. Our next meeting is 6/19 at 9 a.m. at the Methodist Church. So if anybody's available, it's very wonderful. We have a UCOG representative that comes every meeting. His name is Tom. He's wonderful. And him and I and Matt, who is the aging expert with UCOG, have been meeting on a regular basis to expand our local resources and connections. So that's been wonderful. If you don't know what UCOG does, please visit their website listed here to the right. And then last but not least, we can explore a little bit. UCOG does quite a bit. So that is the Upper Arkansas Area Council of Governances. So they are very supportive in helping gather resources for communities like us, where it's hard for smaller communities to find funding. So they have been really helping us develop some more programs here to service our seniors much better. So please stay posted. Last but not least, this is a DOT survey. So it's green. It was sent to random seniors in our community, but I would encourage any senior to go to this website and fill this out, because it is all about transportation and the struggles that especially rural and frontier experience. So what this data is going to be used to, is form more programs and funding towards the difficulties surrounding transportation. So please tell your friends, fill this survey out so we can tell the Department of Transportation that it is a big challenge here, especially in Custer County. So tell everybody, and it expires on the 9th, so we only have a small window, so please tell everybody, go to this website, fill this survey out. All right, we're almost there. You guys have hung in so wonderfully. All right, financial report. So we are waiting our 25-26 grant contracts. I have one. I've received one, and it was for child fatality, which is not a ton of money in the year sense, but we have a healthy balance from years past, because we are very fortunate here in Custer County that we do not have very many child deaths. So we're going to focus that funding towards more prevention efforts. So back in Family Fun Day, we've been talking about purchasing life jackets as a raffle prize, as well as bike helmets. So we really want to start utilizing this. It's kind of stayed in that little grant fund for a while, and we really want to start putting that money to work.
Yeah, because I know Pueblo Reservoir last year, if you were there and you were a kid and you didn't have a life jacket, you were gonna get kicked off and they were gonna hefty fine you.
Yeah.
Because there was 6 deaths the year before, so.
Drownings are one of the most common nationwide deaths of children, because it does not take very much water for a child to drown in.
Right.
So that's kind of so we're gonna have a whole section on water safety tips. We're gonna have ducks. It's gonna be awesome. So, exactly. All the.
Some of the ones they put on these kids is like a piece of styrofoam harness.
Yes, it's some decent quality life jackets. So we're just waiting. We're hoping to see some more contracts here in the next coming months. So I will keep you guys posted as those come in. Office restructuring. So we have, through our cross training and changes in staff, have reduced our overall staff FTE by 40%. That is a very large number for such a small department. So that is quite a bit of savings across the board. And having our staff being cross-trained and very versatile has, it's maximized our productivity.
What did you decide to do to make it a body wise? You got enough people?
For now. But if we want to expand, we're going to have to look at other opportunities. So my people right now are coordinating multiple programs and grants, but most of them are pretty tapped out. And I am lucky because I can jump into any one of their grants because I am well versed in any of those. And being a nurse, I'm diverse, so I can give a vaccine as well as teach a CPR class. So
Probably our bigger forefront challenge is gonna be, what if all those grants go away? The opiate money's gonna still be there, because that was private companies got sued, so that money's there, and that's for the next 18 years, because it was a 20-year thing. But what are we gonna do when?
And we don't receive an over exuberant amount of that money,
No.
unfortunately.
Right.
So that is even a part-time position of itself. So that's hence why Patrick has taken on the CPR AED program and EPR. So now he is very at capacity. He's at capacity.
And most likely the infrastructure grant's gonna go away, which was the majority of our.
So that was how we funded our cross-training. So that's how I got all of my staff to where they are now. So it's gonna get very interesting, and we might have to get pretty creative with where we go. But until we see the contracts, we don't know what we're working with yet. So we're keeping an eye, but I thought that 40% reduction in FTE was pretty impressive, so. So we'll see. And as we grow, hopefully new grant opportunities, and that's why working with things like UCOG, finding different avenues, talking to other, districts and directors, what programs are working for you. And I meet with we call ourselves the small LPHA collaboration. So directors of like Gilpin County, so who are very similar to us in population and stance, but they do different programs than we do. So we try to share resources and information to, better expand and grow with limited resources.
And if it wasn't for Andrew Zeller's wife doing swimming lessons, we wouldn't have them offered here. So
We might be.
that's maybe another thing that maybe public health can kind of get involved in, right? And offer or help find a teacher or whatnot if she all of a sudden steps out of doing that.
Yeah, and that's where that child fatality grant, if we can show a direct relation to reducing child fatalities, which swimming lesson, in my opinion, would definitely show a reduction in death. So that's what I'm talking about. I want to diversify our funding. I want to put it to work. I want to, come up with creative avenues to do things that we haven't done before and benefit our community.
Especially if it's not being done in the community. If there's not a
Yeah.
private entity that's not doing it, or is all of a sudden gonna quit doing it, where can we fill that gap or pick up or?
Exactly. So, and that's kind of where, once we get our contracts, so we're hoping in July to do another internal grant workshop. So that's where, and lovely Commissioner Eck has been able to sit in on those and see us working as a team to say, hey, I've got grant money that can do this, this, and this. What do you have? Can you do this, this, and this? Can we braid funding? Can your funding help my funding? And we can come up with a common project or, service that we can, lay out to the community through creative grant workshopping. So we'll keep you guys posted on that as we get more contracts coming in. So, all right, we're on the end. So just a couple questions for you guys. Here's a couple, this is a landing well resource. So if you see these and you want more information, please pick these up. We also have our senior blue books out. One per customer, please. Some people like to come and grab a whole bunch, but they're very good at connecting resources for our seniors here in our community. Okay, so Dr. Beck's contract. So Dr. Beck is our medical director for public health. So this is the original contract. I have a proposed change here down where it is her stipend. So she was receiving $1,000 per year with quarterly payments of $250. I would like to bump that up, not by much, to $1,200, which is a $300 per payment. So it's just a $50 increase. So that is here in my proposal listed right there. And then it was only signed by Commissioner Kanda. Do we need all 3 signatures on this contract? Would we like to do the whole board?
And we probably need Dan Slater to look at that contract, so.
Okay, so I will turn this over to you guys. Here's a physical copy. I will also send the electronic copy. Do you guys want, I have copies of the original. You can have both of those.
That would be good.
Awesome. So that is one. And then we are up for our lease renewal for our office space. So nothing has changed in this contract with Pat Bailey, so the owner of Solar Solutions.
They can still cut up the doors and everything.
Oh, he is letting us do, he gives us free reign. So we have actually been talking about, we have carpet in our provider room. We'd like to rip that up and put laminate flooring in so we can sanitize a little bit better and regularly. And he's already given us permission to do so. He's gonna let us paint and He is a very wonderful landlord.
And is that contract for the year?
Yes,
Okay, so
So-
it's agreed.
yes, it is, and it is due. So I will let you guys look at that, and sign it if you so see fit, and then I will bring it back to Pat to sign, and then we can move on with our lives if you guys deem it a-okay. And then my last question is if you guys have heard any feedback from your constituents on public health specifically, if there's anything we can do to improve our service, or if there's any gaps that you or your constituents have noticed that we can start putting some focus on here coming in our new fiscal grant year of 25-26. So feedback is welcome.
Okay.
Awesome. And then if no feedback is there, or if you want to email me privately, you're welcome to. And we can conclude this meeting. Thank you guys for listening to me talk for so long. But hopefully that was
Good job.
Education.
I think, we need to talk about, and this will be more when the PIO site gets put up, but, hand washing and how important that is. And I think the Wellness Council hopefully will help us with some of that stuff, so we've got two organizations kind of doing up on the messaging out there.
That would be
Which
great.
will be, I think, amazing, because each one of you will hit different groups.
Yes.
Um,
We've talked about going to the school. I was working with the current kindergarten teacher, but there's going to be 2 different kindergarten teachers next year. So I will hit them in the preschool up on educating our children, because that was a huge, I mean, the school is one of our biggest vectors of illnesses. Kids are germy, that's what happens.
Mhm.
So through proper hand washing, it would be interesting to see our rates of illness. Now that we have really good communication with the school nurse, if we can track that, you know, hey, we had X amount of kids this year that were out sick compared to this year with the hand washing education, especially with the little ones.
Right,
So that would be very interesting. I like that.
and then oxygen. So I think there's a very, I think people don't understand, because I didn't quite understand. You guys really can't administrate oxygen in any way, shape, or form, because that is very specific to who the person is and what their needs are.
So oxygen is a medicine that requires a prescription. Even an oxygen concentrator requires a prescription. So unfortunately, we are not in that arena. We are in more of the prevention education side of things versus the medical treatment. So, you know, in case of disaster, that's where things change. So if we ended up, and the shelter class is going to be very informative about that nature, because our aim at public health is to keep well people well in a shelter. So, you know, if they have an oxygen concentrator, we want to make sure that they bring one, or that the shelter supplies one, and that we have power at the shelter to supply that
Right.
machine or equipment with power. So yes, that is a very good question. There is a Golden Gate started a ride transportation and or medical equipment. I believe they're based out of, I think it's Canyon. They're new to our area, so they supply medical equipment. So if people are starting to look for, you know, where can I get one if my doctor has prescribed me one, that is a new service to the valley. So we try to keep people informed of that. We're gonna try to do better disaster efforts, you know, hey, if we have bad incoming weather, please, you know, if you're concerned about losing power, you know, make sure that you have a generator, et cetera, et cetera. We're working with OEM because we have generators, but I have had 0 calls. And the only time anybody has ever requested a generator was a different circumstance. They needed it to power their house, not just equipment, and they wanted to keep it, which we can't, unfortunately.
They can't keep.
Yeah, they were very upset with us that they just couldn't keep it, so, they ended up finding a more appropriate resource for that, so they ended up getting taken care of. So, that's the thing about our generators, is because they were bought with grant money to service, you know, multiple people, and mainly for shelter. That's what these generators are for, is like, we have a big shelter and we've got people with medical equipment up the wazoo. We need to make sure that we can supply that power. So the personalized individual, like renting out, we spoke, Robin and I had a meeting with dispatch, and there's a liability, so which makes sense on a medical side of things, because if somebody is struggling or they were without power, they could go into a medical emergency, they need to go to proper care. So dispatch isn't allowed to be like, hey, sheriff's department, can you run a generator over at 3 in the morning because we're in a blizzard and there's a snowstorm? So we're trying to figure out, if these people are requiring a generator, maybe connecting them with a resource that can help them get their own personal generator versus us lending out, because there's a huge liability with that too. They have to make sure they know how to operate. If it's a gas powered, it needs to remain outside, that type of thing. So
And there's fuel costs and everything else that goes along with
and
it.
the generators themselves are expensive and depreciate over
They're
time. Noisy. So bigger thing, I think we need to focus more on prevention and education in that
I have a
arena.
question about over-the-counter oxygen.
Yes, okay.
Why is it available? I mean, they're retailing this stuff out, and we just said we need a prescription to have a concentrator, but yet we can go buy a bottle of it.
It's kind of like in Tylenol. Like Tylenol will Band-Aid the problem, but it's not medically treating it. You know what I'm saying? So it's one of those things that I don't want to say it's like snake oil, but it's one of those that it's not really meant for people with medical conditions. It's
Yeah,
meant
it's
for
like
more of your
jogging,
healthy
come up to
individuals
the mountain.
that get a boost, and that's hence why a lot of those brand names, boost. It's not meant to treat, it's meant to.
Enhance.
There you go. That's a great term. Exactly. So, no, good question. And that's, where things get tricky too, is in the medical arena. And that's why having a person with a license in charge.
If you ever get in a bind and you need an oxygen concentrator, because theirs went offline or it broke or whatever, and they're waiting for one to come in. I have a 10-liter at the house
Oh my goodness.
that's not in use at the moment.
Good to know. Good to know.
As the wife is on a 5, and she has also a portable,
Oh,
plus 1, 2, 3 oxygen bottles that they left in the house, just in case our power went out.
good. Hey, you're prepared. That's awesome. We like to hear
But I
that.
know it's supposed to be prescribed, but if they have a unit and it died, it's gonna be a week before they get it, I'd be more than happy.
That's good to know. And that I have, again, I have to look into the liability too. It's a used piece of equipment.
Right.
Where does that go? I mean, do they
But
just?
better than being without.
Absolutely. And maybe we can ask Dan, if you can come up with a waiver and then sign off all liability
Or
saying,
if
hey, we've got this.
It's in the motorhome. It was the one we took on the motorhome, because it's a 10, and if anybody else needed it, we could hook them up or whatever,
Gotcha.
emergency. I have a question for about heavy snow and evacuation way back when we started. If we go back into the cycle of heavy snow, is there a list by the fire department, EMS, or yourselves that would say, we have 35 people that cannot get out of their homes? Identify them, for they know, because when they're driving by, plowing, we can find out where they're at.
So that's a really big project that we've been working on. So I've actually been speaking with UCOG, and UCOG has a list of their known program participants that they could share with us in time of disaster, of those with access to functional needs issues. The problem is trying, Rob and I have met on a couple occasions to try to develop, because a lot of people don't want to be put into a register. Some do, some don't. My idea is to get that Helping Hands program up, because once they're involved with a program, they've given us permission to access their medical and or access to functional needs
It's not like you're gonna
issues.
sell the information, it's to save their life.
No, but you'd still be,
Yeah.
then, let's say your road and bridge guy is going by and he goes, hey, I just cleared this person's driveway, and I know this person's on the list that has a concentrator.
Well,
You've just now shared HIPAA
I
information.
have an answer to that, because I used to plow Wetmore.
Mhm.
And Wetmore is a terrible place to put snow on Main Street or a few other roads.
Mhm.
Main Street, you go from about here to the door right there, and you can't put snow anywhere. So you can't push it to the side, you can't push it to a ditch.
Okay.
So the rule of thumb is we always push snow to the south and to the east, because that way you won't get snow drifts.
Okay.
The other thing is you know that little handicap sticker that goes, they're illuminated, they put on?
Mhm.
Okay, if we had something like that while we're plowing, because I hear it more often than not, is that, well, Road and Bridge plowed me in, and I'm 80 years old, and I cannot shovel the berm of snow.
I I see. So maybe we could do, come weather
It would be
time,
their choice.
we could get a placard or a symbol that is universally recognized by the road and bridge drivers that they themselves put on the outside of their,
On their
mailbox?
address marker,
Okay.
that illuminates when we plow three in the
Okay.
morning. But the other thing there is the difference between plowing you in,
Mhm.
healthy to go move snow in your driveway, it might be a little icy by the time you get to it, or an 80-year-old trying to do,
Mhm.
and they can't. The difference is the lever, you go from plowing to the side, to straight cut, plow to the side over their driveway, you have a cut, but you don't have a berm.
that might be a good, and maybe that's more of a same thing in the fire disaster, say somebody's got that magical piece
They
or
need a
placard
stretcher
on
to
there.
get out.
Exactly, we know somebody with access to functional needs lives
Alright.
there and they've displayed it on there. That's a good idea. I'll talk to Robin about that with our next meeting.
I know people don't like to be identified as, but if
But it could
it's-
be something as like, it's a blue square. So
Well,
your
they do a
average
better
person
drive-
isn't gonna
drive
know.
driveway, too.
Wait, that's a skier, isn't it?
Or, you know.
Here's something interesting that just came up. Sheriff Smith just sent us a note. And you recall the outages on the cell towers and all the stuff that's happening, right? Generators kind of came to mind on it too, but more importantly, he points out that you may have seen it, a school bus that crashed into the thing.
Oh, I know about that.
The driver was by himself, but he passed out and bang. Couldn't call 911 on anything, no towers, no 911,
And half the time you're down the hill,
and
you
so,
don't have radio.
so what he's proposing here, and I said, thanks for the heads up, Starlink and all these other things to look at options.
Mhm.
So the culprit that's really at the bottom of this is Central.
Mhm.
And so why can't we do something better? So Rich got a hold of somebody to find a point of contact, come up here and talk to us. And so I told him to make it so, get with Caitlin, and we'll have a workshop, or a uncalled meeting to find out what options are.
Okay.
And so you ought to be there.
I would love to. Let me know date, time, and place, because it's affected our offices too. And we've
Sure.
talked about, public health, trying to find funding to Starlink, because if, we're essential in a disaster, we have to have,
We've had that conversation.
So,
We're putting that out because when it went down that one Monday,
Mhm.
we couldn't buy gas, couldn't go to the bank and get money.
UBB was out, they have Starlink.
Yeah, they
Okay.
had Starlink,
That was
nobody
Yeah.
knew.
But it's internet and Wi-Fi is infrastructure now. We have to have it to function. So I'm in all support, and let us know where public health can, place efforts to make change happen.
Are you aware of R2?
Yes.
Okay.
I know several people. Yeah. Very good.
R2D2.
I'm
Well,
aware.
that's what I said the first time they asked me to be a guest speaker. I went, R2, where's D2 at? Didn't go over real good, but then they started laughing.
Some people don't know what
Great.
it is, and it's hard.
Thank you for that, Commissioner Kanda. Yeah, please keep me informed. I will be there. So,
Well, thank you.
awesome.
I
Thank
will
you.
talk to you about water,
That sounds great.
what I found out.
All right, so any unfinished business?
No, I think.
Oh, one question. How's all the retirements, people coming and going? Are we okay with all the
Transition of staff.
Transition
at our
of staff.
department.
yeah,
So
like
far,
changes
I mean-
staff so far, like, we lost Rhonda and other people that thought they were indispensable.
Yeah, so people have adjusted to their new roles. We're still sorting through some old files that we have received, and we've actually, my new interim until the job becomes official, she has recreated new grant tracking sheets, which are much more user-friendly and readable, and she is going back through everything to make sure that we are
So she'll
accurate.
be able to stand in on budget deals that Rhonda was in,
Yeah, in the fall.
Okay.
Most definitely,
Good.
yes. So, and us holding grant workshops inter-staff as well has helped everybody become much more fiscally cognizant.
Just awareness, yeah.
Because they are really the first line of managing their own money to make sure that they get paid. And then I oversee and double check and provide internal controls. I actually just wrote a timekeeping policy that we had to meet for our FRMS, which is our fiscal risk management system from the state. to meet federal compliance regulations, and it was approved. So, and we will be working, Commissioner Epp, myself, Vernon, Kristen, will be developing a cost-sharing allocation policy, which will hopefully be taken county-wide. So that will be a very big deal. So, awesome. But yes, so far so good.
That's the only question I had left.
Oh, we're good.
Okay, so for new business, and I know we don't have it down here, but we'll need a motion to accept the new.
Oh, I move that we accept the new, or work the new contract for the
Lease.
lease on the building.
Okay.
Well, so I'll second that motion.
Any public comment?
Any public?
No.
He's
John, what do you think?
There's the plug.
Okay. All right. Take a vote. Paul?
Aye.
Kenny?
And
Lucas? Aye. All right, any additional items of business? Thank you, Sarah.
Awesome, thank you guys.
we done painting already?
I think so.
Can I get a motion to adjourn?
I move we adjourn.
I that.
Feel like